were complaining about, just wondering why it took so long for so many to step up. It's like if we sit back and wait, then what happens? And it's like some folks, they felt were waiting on somebody else to get the job done. And so it's like, what do we do if nobody else stands up? It's like we stand up, we speak up. But how many of us, when we speak, are scared? So many people are afraid. And just talking with a few folks, it's like, listen, I'm willing to sacrifice myself at the expense of the people who are afraid to stand up and speak out. And so that moral exhaustion, that fear, drove people to stand up and to keep moving. Fear of being cast aside by the media, fear of being cast aside by a party that's looking for any reason to glorify this administration or to take the news and shift it into something that it really isn't. And so they worked through the fear.
Right.
And even well after we left, folks were there all night, marching all night.
All right now.
Fear and exhaustion. And so that fear, I think, of what comes next. I mean, look at where we are now, nearly on the brink of a world war. And this is because people who are afraid in most cases don't stand up. And so these were young people who are like, listen, we got to stand up. We got to do something. Whatever it is, we got to make sure that we're not acquiescing to this administration.
And, Betty Magness, one of the things that stood out to me was Rainbow Push and how they came out. And you were one of the principal organizers with the Rainbow Push Coalition and then coming out to this rally. And they left there. You left the Rainbow Push convention and conference to take a bus and bring a busload over to this rally. Could you share, with the audience, I mean, you've been to a lot of rallies. You've done a lot of demonstrations. You've been with Rainbow Push. What did the moment mean to you? And I know there was a moment where walking down, you saw Rainbow Push coming with their signs in the rally. What did that mean to you, Betty?
It was so exciting. First of all, when I talked to the leadership here at Rainbow Push, I said the 14th, which is the last day of our conference, we have got to end the conference with a bang. And that bang should be us going down on buses with our signs, letting people know we're from Rainbow Push and carrying them in the NoKings Day March. When we got down there, the first thing that happened after Dr. Wilson and Dr. Arnwine spoke was Reverend Jackson came up, and he is in a wheelchair now, but his mind is as sound as ever. And they had just started the march, and they told us, stop. We got to wait till Reverend Jackson gets to the front. And as they took Reverend up to the front, people started recognizing him, and they started screaming, it's Reverend Jackson, it's Reverend Jackson. And they were screaming all the way every time somebody saw them. And they saw our Operation Push shirts, and they knew it was Rainbow Push. But then when the buses got there, and we were standing on the side, and here comes Rainbow Push volunteers in their shirts and their signs, and it was like Moses parting the water. The crowd was opening up so they could come through, saying, oh, Rainbow Push, Rainbow Push, Rainbow Push. It really ended our conference with a bang, and people were happy that we were out there because they are so proud of Reverend Jackson and what we have done over the years and what we continue to do. And it was just amazing to see how the crowd received our volunteers in their shirts with their signs.
My. It was gorgeous. It was gorgeous to see that rainbow hoisted high, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. I'm telling you, it was like parting the Red Sea. When they saw Rainbow Push coming, they started opening up a space so they could come through and move ahead of the marchers to get up towards the front. And they kept saying, Rainbow Push, and they were screaming, keep hope alive, and everybody was screaming, keep hope alive. It was just amazing.
Oh, my goodness. And I don't think that Congressman Jackson has joined us yet. But when he does, we'll definitely go straight to him. But we know Congress. We know the realities of, functioning in this time.
And he joined us as we left with Reverend Jackson.
Yes.
So when people saw Reverend Jackson and Congressman Jackson,
they just lost it.
They just loved it. They just loved it. They couldn't. They kept trying to stop us so they could take pictures of Reverend Jackson and Congressman Jackson together.
Yes, it was just amazing. And what I wanted to ask you, Denise, we plan events, right? And we all sit there and we say, we are always going, we're hoping that it's going to work out well and things are going to go nice and that people are going to come. If we call them, they're going to come. We always worry about those things. What was it like for you as you watched that square just overflow? What did that mean to you?
I think it was so powerful because you do worry about everything. You worry about, is it going to be safe? Is it going to be a problem? We were worried about federal troops coming to Chicago last week because there were all the rumors. We were worried about violence. There was the horrible murder and assassination in Minnesota the night before, the morning of. And it's like you worry about all these things. And then you see so many people come. And, of course, that's what you worry about the most. Because I always say if it ends up being peaceful and everybody comes and has their voices heard, then it's a successful protest, whether people heard the program or not, and whether every detail goes the way you plan it. And, this really exceeded, I think, anything that we thought. We could feel the energy and the excitement build. But we had done the No Hands protest on April 5th, and it was big and it was really powerful. But this was like so much more. And part of it was some of the things that you said. I think we had so many more people. We had so many more young people. There's no question that the participants this time looked a little different than on April 5th in a really good kind of way. It was so wonderful to have Rainbow Push's participation both on the stage and in the march. Everything Betty said was true. I was one of the people trying to work with the marshals to get everybody to the front of the march, and there was like nowhere for people to move, and yet people were creating space to get Reverend Jackson to the front, as well as other people in wheelchairs and other people from the speaker group. And it was just so incredibly powerful to do that. I was worried about Rainbow Push's buses arriving in time because the crowd was so big, and was so happy to see you all get there.
Oh, yes, yes.
Denise, one of the things, I'd love for you to speak to this, one of the things that I really respected and liked that was done at the rally as well as the march were the accommodations that were made for those with physical disabilities and where they were able to sit during the rally as well as participate, if they could, in the march. Could you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I think, we make that a priority. We create a section. Of course, we really urge people. So we get a lot of questions before a big event like this saying, if I come with my 97-year-old mother, will she have a place to sit? How will I get there? We encourage people to try to get there early because we have a section for people that need, special abilities very close to the stage where we have our ASL interpreter and we had chairs and spaces for wheelchairs and things. But we really need people to get there early to get into that section. We had over 120 safety marshals who volunteered, all volunteers. And one of the things they were to do was to look out for people that need assistance and make sure they get the assistance that they need, whether they were people with young children. We had a child that got lost. We think one of their parents was selling candy. Their mother was selling candy in the crowd, and the child got separated, and we were able to reunite them. So that's a really important part about doing this because we need to have community. We need to support each other, and we need to care for each other, and we need to do that every day, and we need to do that in big events like this too.
And that's hard, for people to do all the time, right, Daryl?
Oh, absolutely. You're absolutely right, Barbara. And it's so important because, one of the things that people tend to do is that they don't factor in those that have different abled bodies or different disabilities in order to participate in marches and in rallies such as this. And it's such a large part of what this current administration, has been going after were people with disabilities. So to see them included, intentionally included, plans intentionally put in place so that it showed that this was a rainbow type of crowd that was going to be there supporting everybody, I thought was just incredible, Barbara.
Oh, yes. And, the what I also would like you to tell us, Denise, I mean, I was amazed. I mean, everybody in this world knows, or, anybody who studied American history knows that the Chicago police does not have the best reputation, based on, so many encounters, negative encounters in the past that they've had with crowds and with protesters.
Mm-hmm.
But I noticed how calm they were, how respectful they were, how they were present but not intrusive. What did you do? I mean, because I know people around the country who are planning their John Lewis events and other events. They need to understand, how did you interact with the Chicago police to make sure that they understood their role and that they would be, would operate in a way that would be respectful for the protesters?
I think this is always a hard question, and how we engage with the Chicago police and how they behave, I think, depends a lot on the event. For this particular one, knowing it was going to be very large, we need to have streets closed and things like that to keep people safe. You can't bring that many people down and have traffic going on these streets and stuff. That would be really, really, really dangerous. So we started with the city and, with Mayor Brandon Johnson's administration, and spoke to some of the officials there, who then did connect us with some of the people in the Chicago Police Department around street closures. We told them exactly what we wanted. We were also concerned that if there was action by federal, law enforcement or federal military or whatever, that they would get word about that far before we would, and we wanted them to be able to share that any information about that to us, so we knew what we were walking into. And I'll be honest, I mean, this is the sad truth, is that, sometimes the Chicago Police Department and officials like that react differently when it is a white organization, predominantly white organization that is doing some of the organizing. And frankly, that is wrong, and it is terrible. And we need, as an organization like Indivisible Chicago, to use our white privilege in a service of the bigger community and the rainbow, coalitions that we brought together on the 14th. And I think we did
be there and see the money shots, and then some of it's video.
Hello.
Hey, Congressman.
Yes, how are you?
Hi, Congressman.
Hey,
There
Ms.
you
Barbara,
are.
Ms. Arnwine.
Oh, we are so glad you're on the show. Thank you for joining us. We have been talking about you. Your ears should be burning, because we've been talking about all of your great work and and how you've just inspired the crowd at the Daily Plaza this last Saturday. We're just so happy you're on. We wanted to, talk with you and for you to share with our national audience in the 45 cities and the 13 nations who are listening right now. If you could give us, first of all, your reaction to being at Daily Plaza, to seeing those tens and tens of thousands of people assemble, and then to hear about the millions who assembled around the country. What did that mean to you, Congressman Jackson?
Well, it was great to be there with you, first of all, and it just goes to show you that people really do appreciate the country that we live in, and people know that there is something fundamentally wrong. And people came up peacefully. They demonstrated from all walks of life, saying enough is enough. We're better than this. The raids and the unlawful detention of people, putting our military on the ground in front of the population. We understand what a strong man is, and it's something that we as Americans do not appreciate, will not tolerate, that we're going to win and keep our country and make it even better. So to see those people out there, and I mean people came out there differently abled, in strollers and walkers, children came out, parents came out with families, seniors, people that hadn't marched in years came out saying enough is enough. We don't want a king, and we're not going to be threatened and intimidated.